Mimosas with Michael. Mimosas with Michael. Mimosas with Michael. Yay!
All right. Welcome to Mimosas with Michael. I'm here with Keith Kirkwood, who, well, he's a politician. And you do a lot of things, so let's toast because we're having mimosas.
We're going to toast because it's Sunday.
Yep, Sunday fun day. So you and I were having a fun conversation before the show started about how you were a fashion model.
Yes.
And then you were like, oh, and it's interesting how I got into politics. So I do want to know how interesting it is you got into politics, because I think that's fascinating.
It's very similar, right?
Yeah, so similar.
All that training, taking pictures, get used to it. But I grew up in Kirkwood, so we were really kind of grew up on the Kennedys. You know, it's a big deal over there. So I was always fascinated with that. You know, how you always would hear people complain in the neighborhood about things they didn't like.
Yeah.
And you kind of see somebody who could take what they didn't like and do it.
Yeah.
So it was very enticing. You say, you know what, I don't want to talk about problems. I want to fix the problems.
Yeah, of course, which I think is great.
Obviously, when you're like 17, 18, no one's running for nothing. You could even get like the dog catcher, at that age.
Yeah.
So you just kind of make your own way, And I got lucky. Someone was coming out the gym, and some woman was like, "Yeah, come, you should try modeling." I'm like, "Really?" So I was like, "Yeah, it's good." And my mom brought me to this thing, and it was a bunch of people. Like there was a pro scout, they call this thing.
Yeah.
And it was like thousands of people in Boston at the Sheraton, and you get this little number, and you got to like go in front of all the agents and show you pictures and everything, and I look back now, I'm like, holy shit, I was so nervous to do that because you're a little like bathing suit and you go out there and run away for everybody. And ended up winning the contest, and they had to go, after you're done the show, they bring you to New York and you meet the agents that took an interest in you. So I went to New York from Boston. I was going, 3 or 4 days a week on a little Peter Pan bus.
Awesome.
You go to the go see, and maybe you don't get it, but you got to come back. And they go, you know what? They want to see you again, so you got to go back. And it was a real grind, but it really gives you tough skin, because most people aren't used to hearing no or being rejected.
Yeah.
Right? And in that business, you're not going for like batting averages, right? You're kind of swinging for home runs. You're not going to bat 1,000 everything you go to. It's just like anybody who's a dancer or an actor or anything that's a performance, right?
Yeah.
You really get a tough skin, and you really build a self-belief in yourself, because if not, you'd go 2 or 3 of those and you'd say, this is not for me. This kind of stings someone being like, you're not right for it, or you take it personal and say, I guess I'm not talented enough for this guy, So you really build that tough skin,
and that's important here in this city, in this industry, because I work around actors every day.
Yeah.
And part of like I wanted to grow up being an actor, but then I was like, I don't want to deal with the rejection of that.
Yeah.
Which is why I became a writer, because then if I got rejected, it was a letter in my room, and I could cry over like a beer.
Yeah, I didn't write that one.
Yeah,
that was
I was
a ghostwriter on that one. So, but yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then now I've been doing, still since I was probably 19, I started, and I've done like 1,200 magazines now, and I have a good time with it. So it's fun now when I get to do it. I get to talk about things that I'm doing and smile still. But I used to always laugh. I said they paid me not to smile.
Yeah.
It's like men are very stoic. But it's a very interesting business, and it's changed a lot now with like the social media aspects happening than it was when you would obviously coming from a small town like I came in. We didn't have no stoplights, so there was no ability to make any career moves there. You know?
Of course.
So you got to go to the city. Now, with social media, you can do so much more emails and kind of get an idea where you stand.
Yeah.
Than just going and kind of like winging it. Like people usually will do like direct to call back or things like that if you're out of town, or direct booking. But back then there wasn't a lot of ways to do that. So you were like mailing like pictures and like postage and and it's changed so fast. It's not that long ago. I mean, like 10 years. It's a night and day industry.
I work with YouTubers all the time, and it's just like these people never even took an acting class. They just they do what we do, just sit in front of a microphone and talk. About stuff.
And you almost buy personality. So now a lot more clients are interested in what your social media following is than how good you are in front of a camera.
So crazy.
But I've helped some of my friends that come up and say, well, how do you? I got to pose for. I'm an attorney and I got to do my pictures. And I'm like, you really see they take it for granted that if someone thinks this person is handsome, this girl's pretty, she's just gonna look good in front of the camera, and it's not like that. There's a certain art to it. So I always appreciate when you see good pictures, whether it's the photographer or the editor post. Could be that guy's trained to get him in the right shape, but it's a lot more work than I think people assume that it is. And when they try it in the front of the lens, it's like, oh, I didn't get the pictures that I wanted to get. I'm like, yeah, it takes a little bit of skill to just know it, because
Yeah.
you got to look at yourself enough times, and you know, if you got 5 shots, you can nail what you want to nail, because you're just used to seeing yourself. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's the way it likes to look. So
It's the same way when you act, or same when you do anything. It's
yeah, you got a comfortability in front of the camera, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing. You can usually pump things out much faster when you're, you know what you're doing.
yeah. So, and how long have you been in politics?
3 years.
Really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
still new, still a freshman, I guess, right?
No, that's
It's
good.
like
We have to learn somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So, so what do you do in politics? Tell me a little bit. We'll go down that road for a minute, and then I'll go back to art stuff.
I have elected office in L.A., and
Nice.
then Governor Brown nominated me for a commissioner
Nice.
position, and then it was confirmed by the president. So
Perfect.
it's a federal appointment.
How
so yeah, it takes a little bit longer. Like for this case, it took 7.5 months
Okay.
because it was an election cycle. When I came at the same time as
Oh, got
the
it.
new administration, so yeah, it was a long time. So 7 months of kind of waiting. You're like, what's up?
Yeah, you're like, yeah. It's almost like having an audition for a big project.
7 months
You just-
later, you're like, what's going on?
That's
Yeah.
a long time to wait.
Yeah, we do a lot of background checks and stuff like that. You know, obviously, if you're representing, you know, the federal government, or if
Yeah.
you obviously have somebody, if it's the governor or the president that's given his signature to sign off on you,
Yeah.
they certainly want to make sure that you know,
They
get any warrants.
yeah, you are who we say you are. No, I think
Exactly.
that's great.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So
And
I
now-
think that same certain things that you learn, you know, from coming up.
Yeah.
On just like almost like media training in a way, you know, because you do so much of this, right? And especially now with social media, it's the same
Yeah.
aspect.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to get a part in a film, or if you're trying to get a magazine ad, certainly the same thing when you're in politics, right? You got to use that same media strategy to
Okay.
get the word out there.
Yeah, of
you
course,
know
yeah,
what
yeah.
you're trying to promote. So it definitely helps. You know, and be comfortable in front of it. You know?
And it's interesting. So I have nephews that I've kind of helped raise, and so they're a little bit younger. And but I work with a lot of these YouTubers. Like, I don't really understand the concept of social media. I mean, I didn't before.
Yep.
And when I started working with a lot of the YouTubers, I kind of watched the way that they handled their social media, and I was like, okay, I guess I can do that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I can start tagging stuff. I start doing Insta, because it's like I'm from the age where we didn't have that, so it's like I don't know how to not communicate. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not young.
Yeah.
And so to like have to figure it out, it's so interesting to be older and try to figure that out, especially when you are trying to talk about policies and stuff like that. So
Well, and that's the thing too. Is you look at the voting base in Southern California, we have some of the lowest voter turnout. And,
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And what's tough is you're trying to reach the audience that are the active voters, which
Yeah.
typically seniors have certainly always been quite active across the country. You know.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's true.
But the youth and it doesn't always show up. You know, they have, like this last cycle. You know, obviously you've seen with Bernie Sanders. You know, he was really able to get the youth out there. But,
Yeah.
but he spoke. He spoke certain things that
Yeah.
resonated with them. So you kind of see it's not that they're not interested. It's they're not. You have to hit the certain target points
Yeah.
that they're interested in, and then they'll get into it.
is it because they don't think it makes a difference?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think what's really sad is they'll pay attention to a presidential election, but they
Yeah.
won't pay attention to your local elections.
Yeah, which is
And
just
your-
as important sometimes.
if not more important, because your day-to-day life is affected more by your councilman or your mayor
Yeah.
than it is what's going on, in the federal
Because
government.
it takes so long to trickle down. Sometimes.
100%. I mean, there's so many things, whether it's with school or sidewalks. Obviously the city went through a big lawsuit recently because
Yeah.
of the sidewalks were a little rough.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
And that's things that, like, okay, well, I want that fixed because I see that every day.
Yeah.
Obviously we're talking about state taxes. That's another thing. But when you look at the interest, people get so hopped up on things that it's like, I understand. It's a passion.
Yeah.
That you feel for something, but you should still take that passion over to all the elections, not just pick and choose which ones you're gonna be upset about.
Yeah.
Because you'll be less upset when you can feel like you're part of the whole process,
Yeah.
not just like watching the Super Bowl and be like, what is this? You gotta watch the whole season. You're more invested into
Yeah.
those teams when you're watching
Man,
the
I'm
game.
like a Super Bowl kind of guy too. That sucks.
Are you? You're just like a one-hit wonder there? You're
Yeah.
like one game a year?
Yeah. And I just go for the halftime show anyways.
Really?
No, I'm just
You're one of those, huh?
Yeah. But I think I get what you're saying. It's like how can you complain about the big thing if you're not there fixing the smaller things as well?
Yeah, and understanding the small things is what affects you the most.
Yeah, exactly,
On a day to day. And I think when you do social media, though, it's figuring out, okay, a lot of the seniors aren't necessarily hopped up on the Facebook.
No, of course, yeah.
So when you're doing these, issues, you're like, okay, well, if we're just talking about, Medicaid or something that doesn't appeal to the kids, it's like, are we losing that audience?
Yeah.
So you really try to tailor to the right markets. But I think one of the most fun things about politics, or what I enjoy, is actually getting out there, almost to leave that social media aspect. Like, that's okay. At night when everybody's sleeping, you can promote that stuff. But it's nice when you actually go out to nurse homes and you can talk to people.
Yeah.
And they actually can see, touch you, and they can hear your silly accent or whatever it may be. But you get a better understanding. And you can see in their face when someone's really passionate about something or sad about something or distressed. You can really take that and use that for your own, inspiration.
Yeah, of course.
Because you're really like, like the expert, we're fighting for people. It's like you're taking what your constituents have problems with and trying to shape those problems and not make them problems anymore.
Yeah.
So when you can see the people explaining their, situation, you're not going to get that through an email.
Yeah.
So
and you're very engaging. I won't lie. Like from the
you.
moment I met you, and I was like, wow, this guy's in a suit, and it's like, oh, he's such a politician. And then we started talking, and it's like you're smiling, and you have like you have these like bright blue eyes, and then you have this accent, and you just feel like another guy that I'm just talking to.
Probably because
which is great.
If we like my grandfather was a farmer, so we grew up with really like he was successful at.
Oh, my grandfather was a farmer too.
At farming, but it's interesting and it's hard to find now, right? Especially out east. Obviously Midwest it still goes.
Well, that's my mom's from that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we found that it's just always my grandfather never stopped doing the work on the farm. You don't go you don't just hire people and say I'm going to sit in the house and do whatever I got to do. Like he always drove a truck. He always was milking the cows and doing shucking the corn. And it was like, so you just kind of learn at an early age that you never like nothing's out of your realm of work. You know, you just got to do wherever you need it. And I think if you have a lot of passion for what you do, it just kind of comes out. It's not like you got to turn a switch on. I think that's what we see sometimes when we see the politics and it doesn't inspire people because they're really intelligent, but then they're like methodical about it. Okay. It's not like I really want to get in here and help. It's like I gotta go talk to these people because it's gonna help me do X, Y, and get to where I need to be. And I think people see that, and I think people, especially now with social media, because you could be in Colorado and that same speech now you can see it all over the world. So when they go to the next stop, maybe people don't show up as much because I already seen that speech stump and it's not that impressive because they're speaking from a page. Like I hate that.
Yeah. Oh, that's
just give
true.
me the bullet points and let me just talk because I'm talking about something that I think I believe in. Yeah. So if I needed somebody to write it for me, then how do I believe in it? Because you believe in it. Yeah. Right? It's like...
Well, it's like acting.
100%.
I guess in that sense, yeah.
And when I would talk to Jersey Shore guy, like Mike, situation.
Oh,
and they you would do these shows. And I said, one of the interesting things about you is if someone likes Tom Cruise, they like a character that somebody wrote for Tom Cruise. Yeah. Whether it's like Top Gun and Maverick. Oh, that's so cool, but that's not Tom. He's playing a character. Yeah. With you, for better or worse, if people like you, they actually are buying into the person that you are, not a character. Granted, in these shows, they kind of, edit it so you become somewhat of a character. But it's the same thing in politics. Like, you got to buy you. Like, you're buying that person that's going to go on and stand for what we have as a city or as a community. We want this person to represent us because he's going to speak with real conviction and real passion, but he speaks our language. Not somebody that's so disconnected that has some influence and some money to get in a position, and he's talking about things that he doesn't even know about. So how can he really get there and sweat or be passionate about what he's talking about? Because he didn't lose his job, or he's not trying to pay for insurance for his family. He's set. And I think that's one thing what I would encourage youth is to get involved, in politics, because
important.
It's not always like, oh, I have to be so successful and I have to hit all my, my ducks in a row, and now I'm going to run. That's what we see. Yeah. But that's the huge disconnect. And I think, again, that's the reason why you don't see people following it as much. I mean, just look at the social media aspect.
That's true.
You'll see sometimes mayors in a city, they have 1,700 followers. But any pop star, may have 1 million. And you're like, well, this person's running your city. Yeah. But they don't look at that with any envy or any, excitement. Like, what's he doing with us? They don't care. Yeah. But they want to know what song coming out from Drake.
It's crazy.
Drake,
I get it.
Yeah. And it's like, I thought if we could instill that excitement,
Or even when Kanye does crazy stuff, people will follow him more.
Yeah, he wears a hat, and all of a sudden that's everywhere. But yet the guy who's talking about the hat, they don't even know what the hell's going on. Yeah. Or the gentleman that the hat was for. Yeah. They'll get policies all twisted up, but they'll know everything that Kanye did that moment or what he said.
I don't get it either.
It's like, we gotta. Yeah, I think if you make it a little bit more hip, a little bit more cool, and you make it more at the ground level of how they can actually be involved, I think that's how you get people to get it. And it's almost like just. Yeah, you kind of got to show them that your voice really does matter. It's not cliche. Because you got to get your friends together and you have your little watching parties and just like you do with the games. Like everybody knows what's going on because you tweet about it. Yeah, you know what's going on with the royal wedding, right? I mean, I've seen so many pictures.
People talking about it all day. I was like, I don't even know. I don't care.
I felt like I was married watching that thing. I said, oh,
yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah, Thanks.
You know, at 3 in the morning, and it's like I see all these things pop up, you know, on my notifications. Like, hey, did you see it? I'm like, not 3 a.m.
Yeah.
But like everybody watches that because
Yeah.
it's like a fantasy, right?
And it's interesting because in America we don't even have a king or a queen or prince.
No.
It's not even our country, and people
No.
are like, I had to get up and watch it at 5 a.m.
Yeah, and they've been doing this every time it happens, from Diane to Prince William, and yeah, it's great to see. But I think people get excited about that because it's more glamorous, whereas people don't get it. Like they watch C-SPAN, they fall asleep.
Yeah.
You know, but because they're reading from a page.
Yeah.
You know, when you see two people arguing on the side of the street, people pull over and stop. Like, what's going on? But if they were reading it, like, Jamie, I'm upset with what you said to me today. I don't think we should be seeing each other. It's boring.
Yeah.
But if you see the passion that they're having for each other, everybody's like, oh, you're in trouble.
I think we're in a visual culture in that sense. Just with
Yeah.
a lot of reality television that we have, going back to your, the situation, and people kind of get caught up in that. Now, I work in film, so I watch reality television, and sometimes I feel like it's not real just because I understand the concept.
Yeah.
But it's crazy.
Well,
But you kind of have to I think you have to find a way to sort of navigate that culture.
Yeah, and I think some of the programs that I try to bring in now that we're working on kind of engulf that. Like, obviously, as we were kind of chatting before the podcast, with a lot of schools, funding gets cut. And obviously the arts is one of the first things to go. So you appreciate this, obviously, being in the arts yourself.
Dude, I grew up being a singer, yeah.
So you know about it,
Yeah.
and it's fun to have the camaraderie of bringing the arts in school, because it just breaks up the day of just, obviously, nose to the books on studying the basic history, mathematics, all that stuff. It's nice when you can kind of, in the middle of the day, you can take a music class, because it kind of like rechannels your energies,
Yeah.
and you go back into third, fourth period and you feel like, okay, I'm a little bit more refreshed. So I have a program, School of Pop, where schools that can't afford instruments, they don't need the instruments because, going back to the boy band days, it's more about singing and dancing. And we can provide that without any instruments. That's free. That's just taking, we have like groups like 98 Degrees with Jeff Timmons, who's a good friend of mine, who was more than forthcoming with, I'd love to be a part of this. And like the gentleman's in the band Old Town. And if we can create, music and content where they're almost doing their own boy band inside the schools, so they're learning singing and they're learning the dance moves and the choreograph and all that. They get the same excitement of kind of getting a chance to get out of the class, learn the arts, and then have some fun with each other, and it brings, look, sports and entertainment is such a great blend, from different cultures to come together. It's the easiest way to get people to kind of like not see any sort of color or religion. It's just about the bigger goal, right? Where it's like singing and dancing, having fun, or playing sports and winning. So we felt like this is a way that we can not lose music, but at the same time, still provide, a program that would be beneficial, for those same.
Well, not everybody's good at. I was never good at sports.
Yeah.
I'm awkward. I'm left-handed. All this stuff, and I could never ever. Like, I was active, but I was never good at sports, and so But I was also extremely talented. I can write. I can sing. Yeah. So, and I think people don't realize that you can get the same sort of confidence and camaraderie doing arts and theater and stuff. And it's often overlooked. Like, how can a boy be a boy if he's doing a musical?
100%. I think that's what's great when you have people that whether it's social media or that's kind of stand up for that stuff. That it's not like guys can't do theater. Of course you can. Hugh Jackman's a perfect example of that, right? Like, he's a muscular guy, and he can do Wolverine or he can do The Greatest Showman. Yeah. Like, that was one of my favorite movies ever. I gotta tell you, like, I had no interest in seeing that, and when I seen that, I was like, wow. Yeah. Like, it was great. But you know what brought me into it? Watching the YouTube video. Yeah. Before the movie, when he was crying, when they were doing some song to kind of get the movie made. Yeah. And he was with the studio, and he was watching them sing that song, and he just got up. He was in a suit, and he had some sort of illness where he couldn't sing or something. Yeah. And he just was like, the hell with it. And he was feeling it. And you're watching that, you're like, if I had to check, I'd write the movie right then. Yeah. Because he's not reading something. It's genuine. Yeah. And that's what I think we lack a lot of, is that that genuineness.
Especially in this sort of society where we're kind of connected to our phones.
100%.
Yeah.
And if you're connected with your phone, it's like almost like everybody does that first thing in the morning, right? You're looking at what you're doing. Yeah. But it's like, if you can look at it and take the positivity from things, where you go, oh, I'm inspired. It's like Tony Robbins, you see something pops up, you're like, good, I'm gonna start my day. But then some people look at things and they start to have that hate. And a lot of times it's misdirection, right? Maybe the family life's not that great. Yeah. But if you can have programs at school where maybe they don't want to play sports, but if they don't have any music program, there's nothing else for them to do, really. Yeah. You got sports and music, or the academics.
Yeah.
Well, academics is not a lot of chit chatting, right? As soon as you do, it's like you out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there before, right? You talk too much in class, you get you
Yeah.
get moved out.
There's no camaraderie.
So exactly. So you got to figure that out. You got to give that something for everybody, the arts folks and the the athletes. And if you can if they can do one each,
Yeah.
fantastic. But I think we see that a lot because music is about expression. And I mean, just ask somebody in Metallica, right? I'm sure they you go, oh, what maybe do this music.
Yeah.
Well, in this music, a lot of times it's certain upbringings, but you could release that. And you
Yeah.
can get it through writing. You can get it through, of course, singing, playing guitar, playing the drums. But when you're not giving that any outlet to a lot of kids, sometimes you're like, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea, you know, to make that happen.
Kids need that outlet.
And I mean,
Well,
obviously,
people need that outlet. Yeah.
even as adults. I think that's where we get more, like road rage and things. People aren't doing things they enjoy, right? It's all about things that they have to do, not things that they want to do. And I think that's important in school to be able to start. I think we got to change a little bit of what we see now in public schools. I think we got to modernize it. I think we're doing the same thing as we've done 30 years ago,
Yeah.
And I think, society's changing. And I think, it is important to have, to teach entrepreneurship in school.
Yeah.
I know I've been trying to bring in internships much earlier than like college.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's the first
nice.
time you get an internship, right? Is in college.
Yeah.
Where we can bring in business owners right into middle schools. And they'll talk about the business.
Yeah.
The kids will tell them, I think you should do this to improve it. Now that business owner can decide as many kids as they want to bring in them for an internship.
Oh wow.
The kids get an idea on maybe what they like, maybe what they don't like.
Yeah.
But they get involved in the process.
You have more time to kind of go for that goal and figure out. Yeah, you kind of get like a couple years in high school, and you don't even really know.
Yeah, you're thrown to the wolves.
Yeah, and then you go to college, and you're like, that's not what I wanted.
Well, I guess the idea to say where's this come from, right? Well, people go into school, but they don't really know what they want to do. But
Yeah.
They know they have to do something to succeed, and a lot of times it's like, well, go to school. So you get a liberal arts degree, and you come out and you go, wow, I got 40 grand to pay, and I don't have a job. But if you started early, getting some almost like a trade school. I think it's a great idea. Like any sort of trade school, because maybe you're 16 years old, but you're welding. Maybe you don't want to weld, but at least you know when you're going to school, you could probably get a job as a welder. Because you have a trade set, electrician and plumbing, all that stuff. And I think a lot of times people don't realize the amount of money you can make at those jobs. Yeah. Especially if you own those jobs. It's not just like you have to be wear a suit to say, okay, this is how to be successful. There's a lot of blue collar jobs that make more money than the people driving in, the car, going to work in a suit. Yeah. But you don't know that because it's not glamorized. See, we all go to the same path that we see on TV. A plumber's not showing up in his Mercedes and say, I had a great day at work today. Typically, those jobs are more humble. So he may have more money in his bank account, but maybe he's driving a truck. So the kids aren't being inspired to say, I want to do that. It's like, I got to play sports or I got to get in music. So if that doesn't pan out, sometimes they go in the wrong direction. Yeah. Because they go, what else am I going to do? And it's like, there's a world of opportunities to be like. If you can't sing, maybe you're right. Maybe you produce. Yeah. But that stuff is not glamorized. And I feel like the millennials and the generations following, they're looking at what's exciting, what gets me excited to want to work. I want to be famous. I want to be well known. I want to matter. And it's like, you can matter. But it's more important to really matter to people that love you than it is to matter temporarily to a large amount of people. Yeah. Because then when that goes away, whether it's a hit, whether it's a body, you're very empty. And you see it a lot with musicians, and they have everything, but then they're depressed inside. And it's like it's a false sense of love, So it's like you can get the same feeling by having a regular job. You don't got to be famous to be successful, And when I go to schools, I see it a lot. When I talk to the kids, it's like they're like, oh my God, I had no idea that these careers are out there. So it's like we got to bring that to them. We got to show them. If you go to a trade school, you don't have to be, say if you're in automotive, you don't have to say, okay, I'm automotive, I'm going to work at Jiffy Lube. No, you can work for NASCAR. You can work at the corporate office in Mercedes, and these jobs pay very well. But you're talking to them, it's like, I never knew that. They just assume I work at Pet Boys. And it's like, nothing wrong with that. But if you have high aspirations, you could still be an entrepreneur and do that. And have a trade set. So if you get able to provide that at a high school level, these kids already get a jump start at that, And if it's something that's more, in real estate or development or things that are more business-like, if you're bringing in the entrepreneurs that do those fields, they can listen to it, and they can not read a textbook. They can see somebody in their school that has succeeded in that, and now they can decide, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to ask them, can I come for the summer and work with you? And they can get that out of their system if they don't like it at 16 instead of going to school for it and be like, I don't like this no more. I just
you've
paid
invested
20
all
grand.
that money, and then you're not going to do what you want to do anyways.
That's right.
I think that's smart.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. He's like, that's why I'm doing it. Yeah.
That's the idea, right? Yeah. Smart plans.
Smart and start early. I like that.
Yeah, it helps.
Anything else exciting going on? with Mr. Kirkwood?
Yeah.
So you're a print model.
Yep, done that. Mm-hmm.
What else have you done? So you're a
Man,
beautician,
the
boy
big
band.
Yep, yeah, I used to be in a boy band. Yeah.
Wait, which boy band? Because you haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah, we were in a band, Main Attraction.
Main Attraction.
Yeah, the ultimate satisfaction.
That's
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things where it was. I was every night I was singing, man, and dancing up in the rooms. You know, I said that always kept me out of trouble because again, you had a goal, and that's why I try to tell you. You have a goal, you can get out of any situation.
and that's
you
important
want to be in.
for young kids. Not to cut you off, but I think the problem with a lot of young kids is they aren't challenged enough, and so they get bored. And when you're bored, that's kind of when you get in trouble. What else you gonna do?
Yeah, because you're looking for that stimulation.
Yeah.
And I know when I found something at an early age that I really wanted to do, like I was so dedicated to that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you know, it's everything's like timing, you know. So obviously, when we were getting into this band thing, it was like 2002, and you know, through high school and everything. But I was in high school, so you're like, you know, it wasn't like you're gonna leave high school and go in a band. You know, I didn't have parents that really knew how to do that.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
I was gonna be the Jackson Five. You know, it was like I had to finish school and then do it. Well, by that time, that Lou Pearlman gentleman that did all these boy bands,
Yeah.
it was like he was going down, and all those bands were kind of separating. So you're like, oh boy, that's a lot of work for for a little payout.
Yeah.
But it really was, you know, it was a lot of fun, and now that's why I have so much fun with some of these guys, my friends. So I'll call them up now and say, hey, let's do this thing. Let's bring this, you know, music into the schools, and I'll tap them in there. So it's kind of like full circle, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
I actually love that idea.
And I think, you know, it's a lot of, it's interesting. When you get in these positions, you say, okay, things that you're personal about, you stop bringing them to the forefront, right? Like I'm like a huge animal guy, right? Like I love all animals. And some of the things I see in LA is we have a huge problem with is, of course, housing, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody knows that. But there's a lot of little things that are kind of silly when people are saying, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And, you know, if you have a dog, the city, of course, asks you, I should just back up and say the city always is asking, please adopt, don't shop, right?
Yeah.
In other words, get a dog from a shelter.
Yeah, which is what I did.
So I have two, and we do that. But then when you go to rent an apartment, you get charged with a pet deposit,
Yeah.
you know, per each dog, and a pet rent per each dog at many locations.
Yeah.
And then you have breed restrictions. So all three of those things to me are fundamentally flawed, and
Yeah.
they should be wiped off. So I've been you know, ideally trying to push forward, no pet rents, you know, no breed restrictions, and of course no pet extra deposits.
Yeah.
Because these are things that you're making the rents go higher for somebody, but you're helping out the city at the same time. You're saying, okay,
Yeah.
let's get these dogs adopted. Okay, so I do that.
Yeah.
But now I'm paying an extra $200 a month for this.
Yeah, which people can't afford. Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So I think it's we have to work much closer with the developers and the landlords to say we need to work together on this, because if not, we're not going to be one of the first cities to make a no-kill shelter.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh,
where
yeah, I heard about that.
yeah,
That's so cool.
that's what we're trying to do. And you know, Jean-Claude Van Damme, the muscles from Brussels,
Yeah.
is a real good friend of mine, and I made him the ambassador of Animal Humanity.
Nice.
You know, this guy is you know, he really breathes it. You know, it's not like a Hollywood, you know, BS. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, we have a foundation, and that's one of our things that we want to push forward is to make no dog be euthanized, where we can kind of
I like that.
we take this idea from New Zealand. They have this huge farm. It's like in the mountains. And there's just dogs running around. I mean, it's a fenced-in area, but they just run around. And if you want to adopt a dog, you just go with a picnic, sit down, and you find the dogs. And they
Yeah,
come
they're
up.
just living their life.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we
beautiful.
ideally would be able to find some piece of land that we could do that, like a Ventura or an area that has,
Yeah.
you know, cheap enough to do it, and at the same time, you know, have the space where we can take the dogs. Where if Carson Animal Shelter, you know, which they do a good job, but you know, it's a high kill shelter. So if they say, hey, we have these 3 pit bulls that are getting ready to be euthanized, pump the brakes, right? Or
Yeah.
pump the pause, right?
Yeah.
no,
the pause.
Pump the pause. You know,
That's
they-
what the name of your campaign is. Pump
Right,
the
pump
pause.
the pause, right? We would take that, and then you know, we would bring them. So any dog that was
Got
on
it,
death
yeah.
row, they would never have to worry about getting euthanized. You know,
Yeah.
we would be able to bring them to, you know, say to the sanctuary, to the farm. So, but same thing when you take somebody like Jean-Claude, he's very passionate about it, and he has 20 million people on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, so he's reaching a large audience.
Good.
And we're really able to, you know, like anything else, these dogs really get saved because people keep sharing the dogs. So
Yeah.
it's not like come on down to my shelter.
I'm so glad because on Facebook they post so many videos of like just animals being abused.
Yeah.
Like, it's yeah.
Oh, it's terrible.
I know I can't.
It's terrible, but you hope it changes people.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what we
sometimes
hope.
it's like you got to have something bad to see, and then you go, oh, I don't want to be that guy. You know,
Yeah.
'cause you feel it, and
then
just
you-
acting out on it, and then be like, well, no one's seen that.
Yeah, and then you get
It's-
involved in stuff like this.
Well, that's right, and you know, it's funny. That's why I really think with social media, I could change so many bad things and turn them into positive things, you know. And I was mentioning this we go down to Mexico. You know, we're building this village in,
I
in
saw
Tijuana.
yeah.
And part of the thing, you know, with their government is to say you can't suppress this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, people can take pictures and video, and we can introduce these children, and you can see the poverty that they're in, and that we need to, you know, we need to do something. We need to create a social service program for them. We need to create a way to help build, you know, almost, it's like not a handout, give them a hand up, right, on how they can get out of the situation, because the whole world can see now, when people go through, you know, through the city, on how the government is you know, having their own countrymen. So with social media, we're able to actually influence more, because you put people uncomfortable to make a change. So yeah, we try to use
knowledge
this
is
best we
power.
can.
Knowledge is power.
Well, that's it. Yeah, and community, you know, numbers. You get people together, people start answering questions that they don't want to answer, because you have a, you know, a form group.
So anyways, well, actually, so the podcast is 30 minutes, and we just hit 30 minutes.
We hit 30 minutes. That's fast.
I could listen to you talk all day. You're a fun guy to hang out with.
Hey, well, thank you very much.
We'll have to have you on for season 2.
Season 2, here we come.
Yeah. It was a pleasure. And
thank you, buddy.
I'm just gonna follow up here. So you can listen to us on iTunes. You can find us on Google Play. We're on Stitcher Radio, and we're also on YouTube as well. We're just everywhere. Just Google Mimosas with Michael, and you'll find us. So have a great week. Thank you so much, Steve Kirkwood. We'll put your information on the website so people can find you and see all the great things you're doing.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Have a good day.
Appreciate it.